Do not do favors to anyone sounds like unethical advice that many of us cherish, as in some situations helping others can bring more harm than good, both to you and to others. In this video, we will uncover 10 unexpected truths about how and why your desire to help can lead to unforeseen consequences. This approach does not promote selfishness or hinder genuine kindness, rather. It offers a Stoic perspective where compassion is combined with wisdom and empathy with self-understanding. We will explore these complexities, challenge our biases, and learn to recognize when our assistance is truly beneficial and when it may hinder personal growth, as well as the growth of others. Part 1. Martyrdom Syndrome. Martyrdom syndrome is a common phenomenon in modern society, especially among individuals inclined towards self-sacrifice and constant readiness to help others. This syndrome manifests when a person takes on excessive responsibility for the well-being of those around them, often ignoring their own needs and boundaries. Instead of acting from a healthy motivation and clearly defined goals, they succumb to feelings of guilt or obligation, which can lead to emotional and physical exhaustion. The rigor of Stoicism teaches us to value our internal harmony and establish healthy boundaries in our interactions with others. The fundamental idea of Stoicism is to act consciously, recognizing our own capabilities and limitations. In the context of martyrdom syndrome, Stoics teach us that helping others should be deliberate and voluntary, not arising from a sense of duty or guilt. It is important to understand that a perpetual readiness to help can lead to burnout and even resentment towards those who fail to give due recognition or appreciate our diligence. Instead of sacrificing our own health and emotional well-being, Stoics teach us to make decisions consciously, weighing our capabilities and needs. One of the key aspects of Stoic philosophy is the idea of internal freedom and independence. This includes the ability to set boundaries in our interactions with others to maintain our internal harmony. In the context of martyrdom syndrome, Stoics teach us to cultivate a healthy sense of self-awareness and self-regulation, which helps avoid excessive self-sacrifice. The concept of proactivity holds significant importance in Stoic practice. Proactivity means actively managing our lives and interactions with others, rather than reactively assuming the role of a savior or martyr. Stoics teach us that true assistance to others begins with respecting our own boundaries and realizing that we are not obligated to solve all the world's problems. When we make the decision to help, we should do so with clarity and understanding of our resources and capabilities, in order to avoid subjecting ourselves to undue stress and exhaustion. The rigor of the Stoic approach will help us navigate the pitfalls of martyrdom syndrome, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a balance between helping others and taking care of ourselves. Thus, Stoicism offers us not only a philosophy of internal freedom and self-restraint, but also teachings on healthy interactions with others. Martyrdom syndrome can be overcome through mindfulness and respect for our own needs, enabling us to help others without sacrificing our own well-being. Part 2. Issues with dependency. Stoicism teaches us to be independent and to manage our own emotions. It instructs us to build our inner world based on our own principles and values, independent of external circumstances or the opinions of others. In the context of dependency on helping others, Stoicism offers a deep understanding of how we can lose our inner harmony and stability if we allow external factors to control our emotions and actions. When we assist others out of a sense of obligation or a need for external recognition, we expose ourselves to the risk of emotional dependency. This means that our emotional well-being begins to depend on how others react to our actions. We start seeking validation and approval from outside, which can lead to constant anxiety and self-doubt. The rigor of Stoic philosophy lies in distinguishing between healthy assistance to others and dependence on external evaluations. True assistance, according to Stoicism, should stem from our inner conviction and desire to do good without expecting immediate reward or recognition. This implies a clear definition of our boundaries and goals, so that we can act consciously and responsibly. Issues with dependency on helping others can also manifest as emotional leakage, where we lose energy and resources by assisting others without paying adequate attention to our own needs and well-being. Stoicism teaches us to find a balance between caring for others and self-protection in order to avoid excessive exhaustion and emotional burnout. It is important to realize that Stoicism does not deny the need to help others, but suggests doing so consciously and considering our own capabilities and boundaries. This helps us avoid feelings of obligation or guilt if we decide to say no in certain situations to protect our resources or emotional well-being. Thus, Stoicism teaches us to value inner freedom and independence, which allows us to help others while maintaining our own emotional stability and harmony. This philosophy helps us develop healthy relationships and ensures our inner resilience in challenging situations, where we may be tempted to immerse ourselves in the role of a martyr or an unnoticed hero. Part 3. Emotional leakage. Assisting others can lead to emotional leakage when we become so immersed in their problems and emotions that it begins to affect our own emotional state and psychological well-being. Stoics teach us to approach assistance with mindfulness and balance to avoid excessive emotional exhaustion. A central aspect of Stoic philosophy in this context involves developing emotional resilience and the ability to manage our emotions. Instead of immersing ourselves so deeply in others' problems that it drains our energy and mental resources, Stoics teach us to approach situations more rationally and consciously. The main idea is to offer help with love and compassion while maintaining inner harmony and emotional balance. This is achieved through awareness of boundaries and deliberate management of our emotions to prevent emotional exhaustion or burnout. Emotional leakage can occur when we start identifying ourselves with others' problems or feeling guilty for not being able to help at a given moment. Stoics teach us to distinguish between caring for others and excessive involvement in their problems, which helps maintain psychological health and resilience. It is important to understand that assistance should come from a genuine desire and ability to help, rather than from a sense of duty or a desire to earn approval. This helps prevent emotional exhaustion and maintain the purity of our motives when providing assistance. Stoicism teaches us mindfulness of our own emotional reactions and empathy towards others, while also advocating for setting boundaries and balancing our emotional investments. This enables us to remain emotionally healthy and maintain harmonious relationships with others, without becoming so absorbed in their problems that it compromises our own well-being. Part 4. Encouraging destructive behavior. An important aspect of assisting others is the need for balance to avoid encouraging destructive behavior. Stoics teach us that assistance should not only be mindful but also aimed at supporting healthy development and growth in others. Often, our desire to help and our compassion can lead us to justify or even encourage behavior that does not contribute to the personal growth and well-being of those we are helping. This can happen for various reasons: avoiding conflict, wanting to be helpful, fear of losing relationships, or simply due to a lack of clarity in our own boundaries. For Stoics, it's important to understand that true assistance involves not only providing resources or emotional support, but also supporting healthy and constructive paths of development. This requires us to be able to set clear boundaries and be prepared to offer support and direction that contribute to a better future for those seeking our help. Encouraging destructive behavior can start with misunderstood or unclear signals that we send through our behavior or words. For example, consistent yielding behavior or lack of constructive criticism can send wrong signals and contribute to reinforcing unhelpful or harmful habits. Stoics teach us to be consistent and fair in our actions and decisions, especially when it comes to assisting others. This means being prepared to say no to what does not serve the best interests of the person we want to help, and instead offering alternatives that promote their personal and professional development. Furthermore, Stoics teach us to align our decisions with our own values and principles when determining how best to help others. This helps avoid making decisions based on emotions or external pressures, which can lead to unpredictable or undesirable consequences. Therefore, it is important to remember that assisting others should be aimed at supporting their personal growth and well-being, rather than supporting and reinforcing their negative or destructive behavioral patterns. This requires wisdom, clarity, and readiness to act in accordance with our highest values and principles, so that our assistance genuinely contributes to a better future for those around us. Part 5. Loss of identity. The desire to help others, especially when it carries elements of savior complex or heroism, can lead to a significant loss of our own identity. Stoics teach us that maintaining our uniqueness and integrity while assisting others is an important aspect of our own well-being. When we start identifying ourselves solely as the savior or hero, we often forget about our own needs, goals, and life path. This gradual identification through helping and supporting others can lead to the gradual disappearance of our personal identity. The drive to always be helpful and to be the one who comes to the rescue can result from internal complexes or uncertainty about our own goals. Instead of developing and strengthening our own uniqueness, we may begin to conform to others' expectations and lose clarity about who we are and what truly matters to us. Stoics teach us that true assistance begins with awareness of our own limits, desires, and values. This doesn't mean refusing to help, but rather establishing healthy boundaries and a clear understanding of how our assistance can be most effective and supportive, not only for others but also for ourselves. Furthermore, Stoics emphasize the importance of developing our own personal wisdom and uniqueness as a way to bring value into the lives of others. This implies that our assistance should stem from deep understanding and experience, rather than simply wanting to please or meet external expectations. Part 6. Financial strain. The constant desire to help others without reasonable boundaries can lead to serious financial stress and strain. Stoics teach us not only kindness and compassion, but also wise management of resources, so that we can help others without falling into financial difficulties ourselves. When we become overly generous and fail to set clear boundaries in financial support for others, we risk disrupting our own financial plans and stability. This can manifest in overspending, debts, or in extreme cases, financial insolvency. The urge to always be ready to help, especially when it comes to financial support, can stem from various motives, including the desire to be a good person or seeking recognition. However, without reasonable boundaries and an understanding of our own financial capabilities, we risk vulnerability and potentially finding ourselves in need. Stoics urge us to seek balance and reasonableness in our financial decisions. This includes setting clear limits on financial assistance, understanding our financial capabilities and priorities. Additionally, Stoics teach us to prioritize creating long-term and sustainable charitable impact rather than acting impulsively. Awareness of financial responsibility in the process of helping others is not only a sign of respect for our own resources, but also a way to create more effective and sustainable assistance. This requires us to reflect on what resources we are willing to allocate for assistance and what financial consequences may arise from our actions. Therefore, financial strain caused by excessive assistance to others is a serious challenge to our personal well-being. Stoics encourage us to adopt a wise and mindful approach to financial matters so that we can continue to be helpful and effective in supporting others without jeopardizing our own financial stability. Part 7. Neglecting personal needs. Stoic philosophy teaches us not only about helping others, but also about the necessity of self-care. The frequent and endless desire to assist those around us can lead to serious neglect of our own physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. When we immerse ourselves in helping others, we risk forgetting about our personal needs. This can manifest as lack of sleep, inadequate nutrition, lack of time for physical activity or relaxation. Stoics teach us that self-care is not selfishness, but a guarantee of our ability to effectively help others. When we neglect our own well-being, we lose the opportunity to be useful and effective in our assistance to others. Neglecting personal needs can also lead to burnout and exhaustion. If we are constantly in a state of hyper-concern for others, our physical and emotional health may suffer. Ultimately, this can lead to deterioration of our health and overall well-being. Stoics urge us to establish boundaries and strike a balance between caring for others and caring for ourselves. This includes recognizing our personal limits and being able to say no when necessary for our own health and well-being. Setting clear boundaries helps us not only conserve our energy and resources, but also maintain our physical and emotional well-being in a healthy balance. Neglecting our own needs can also lead to a loss of meaning and purpose in life. When we are too focused on helping others, we risk losing touch with our own values, interests, and life goals. Stoics teach us the art of self-awareness and self-development, the importance of which should be considered when providing assistance to others. Part 8. Impact on relationships. Intensive assistance to others can significantly influence our personal relationships, especially if we fail to establish clear boundaries and expectations. Stoics teach us to be honest and open in our relationships, considering the needs of others while not forgetting our own needs. When we dedicate ourselves to serving and helping others, there is a risk that our relationships may become imbalanced. Instead of striving for reciprocity and mutual understanding, we may become one-sided in our efforts, which can ultimately lead to disappointments and misunderstandings among our loved ones and friends. Stoics advise us to set clear boundaries in our relationships and to be honest with ourselves and others. This includes not only the ability to say no when we feel our own needs are not being met, but also being open to accepting help from others when necessary. The influence that helping others can have on our relationships also pertains to our time and emotional energy. If we are constantly in a state of hyper-concern for others, our loved ones and friends may begin to feel neglected or unimportant to us. This can create rifts in our relationships and lead to misunderstandings. However, Stoics also teach us wisdom and compromise in relationships. The ability to strike a balance between caring for others and caring for ourselves helps maintain healthy and stable relationships. This requires us to be mindful of our emotional reactions and to recognize when we need to take a step back and focus on our own needs. This includes being open to help and support, but also establishing clear boundaries and taking responsibility for our own well-being. Ultimately, finding this balance helps us preserve harmony and stability in our personal relationships. Part 9. Resentment, bitterness, and compassion fatigue. The pursuit of helping others can sometimes become a source of internal unease and emotional tension, especially when our compassion becomes unmanageable or one-sided. Stoics teach us the balance between kindness towards others and self-care. They warn us against losing our own inner equilibrium in the pursuit of helping others. When we constantly find ourselves in a state of hyper-concern for others, our emotional state can begin to lose its stability. Resentment may arise when we feel that our efforts are undervalued or insufficiently recognized. This feeling can emerge if we invest a lot of emotional energy in helping but do not receive reciprocity or gratitude. Bitterness can also arise when we realize that our compassion may have been taken advantage of or not appreciated. This can cause feelings of disappointment and dissatisfaction with our own actions. Stoics teach us wisdom in assessing our motivations and actions so that we can avoid falling into traps of these kinds of emotional reactions. Feeling compassion fatigue can occur when we feel emotionally and physically exhausted from constantly caring for others. This often happens when we neglect our own needs and emotional health. Stoics encourage us to learn to recognize the limits of our capabilities and to be able to say no when necessary for our own well-being. Stoics teach us self-discipline and emotional control. They urge us to approach helping others consciously so that our actions are the result of our inner choice rather than just a reaction to external stimuli. This helps maintain our emotional balance and self-confidence despite the various challenges we encounter in our efforts to assist and support others. Part 10. Unrealistic expectations. Stoics teach us the principle of realism and honesty in relationships, including those related to our readiness to help others. Unrealistic expectations can arise from an imbalanced perception of our abilities and resources. When we offer help based on our best intentions, sometimes we may forget about the realities of our own lives and capacities. First and foremost, it's important to realize that our resources, whether time, emotional energy, or physical abilities, are not infinite. Stoics urge us to understand and acknowledge our own limits. This means being honest with ourselves and others about what we can and cannot do in terms of offering assistance. When we fail to clearly define our boundaries and capabilities, it can lead to unrealistic expectations from others. For example, if we are always ready to help without setting clear boundaries, those around us might start expecting too much from us. This can lead to feelings of disappointment and dissatisfaction, both for us and for those who depend on our help. An example of this could be when we try to help someone solve their problem without having enough resources or knowledge. Instead of simply agreeing and intervening, it's important to pause and carefully consider what we can realistically do to make our assistance truly valuable and effective. Unrealistic expectations can also stem from our own desire to be a savior or hero. This can lead to situations where we take on too much, disregarding our own needs and boundaries. Stoics teach us balance and harmony in our actions, so that we can be helpful to others while maintaining our own inner equilibrium. It's important to remember that honesty and realism in our relationships and in helping others are not signs of weakness, rather, they are indications of our inner strength and wisdom. This allows us to build healthy, sustainable relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. In conclusion, it is worth noting that helping others is a noble aspiration. However, it is important to be aware of potential pitfalls along this path, from the risk of burnout to the danger of ignoring warning signs. Providing assistance requires careful self-analysis and setting healthy boundaries. By prioritizing self-care and cultivating resilience, we can ensure that our desire to help does not harm our own well-being. Remember, by respecting our needs and boundaries, we become the best versions of ourselves.